Is OSHA HSA training. Today we'll be talking on fire prevention, and this is going to be our last material for this training. Essentials of OSH focus on fire prevention. So that's what we'll be discussing in the course of this training. Here are some facts on fire prevention. It said in 2006, according to the NFPA, as a result of fire, 3,245 civilians died. 81% occurred in residences. 16,400 civilians were injured. 106 firefighters were killed while on duty. More Americans died than from any other natural disaster combined due to fire incidents. There was $11.3 billion loss in properties. So all these are reasons, trying to give you reasons why fire prevention is very, very necessary. And I said fire prevention plans. A fire prevention plan should be in writing. It must be kept in the workplace and be made available to employees for review. It says in the USA, employers with 10 or fewer employees may communicate this plan orally to employees. That is to say, if your company has more than 10 employees, you can communicate the plan to them orally. If it has less, you can simply just put it in writing and distribute to every one of them. And also it says a fire prevention plan should include a list of all major fire hazards, proper handling and storage procedures for hazardous material, potential ignition sources and their control, and the type of fire protection equipment necessary to control each of these major hazards. So what is here is basically talking about is that you should list out all your fire hazards, all the things that could lead to fire, try to list them out, and also all your there should be a proper handling and storage procedures for all anything that can lead to fire, anything that can lead to potential fire hazard. And also the ignition sources should be well controlled and maintained to avoid any breakout in fire. Also, fire protection equipment are equally necessary and should be well controlled. And second thing here in your fire prevention plan says procedures to control accumulations of flammable and combustible waste material. Have a good procedure in the control of anything that can lead to fire. They should be properly kept and maintained, kept away from anything that could ignite them to cause fire. There should be a proper control measure in place. Set procedures for regular maintenance of safeguard installed on heat-producing equipment to prevent the accident ignition of combustible material. What he is basically trying to say is that those machines, those heat-producing machines, materials that are combustible should be kept far away from them. You understand? Also, these machines should be maintained to avoid any kind of fault that will make them to produce high amount of heat that could lead to fire. So there should be proper maintenance on any appliances, any machine that produces heat. Say the name or job title of employee responsible for maintaining equipment to prevent or control sources of ignition or fire. Means that you should have a name or a job title. Somebody should be in charge of this particular, there should be a department for fire prevention, and people should be in charge of that department. Give it a name and place people there to work in that department. You understand? Then a name or job title as well for the employees responsible for the control of fuel source and hazard. He's talking about putting people in charge of control of anything that could cause any form of hazard. For instance, you are working in a plastic industry where you use plastic, remains of plastic and all that. You ensure that those plastic that are combustible are not kept near any heat producing machine. So somebody should be responsible for that, to know that this plastic that we no longer make use of should be kept in a particular area that will be safe. So there should be somebody in charge, somebody employed with that responsibility. So what is the impact of workplace fire? Now this is an assignment for you guys. List out the number of fire fatalities and injury and cause workplace in your whatever. Just list them out and cause them. Then fire brigades. Say organizational statement. Prepare and maintain a statement or written policy which establish the existence of a fire brigade, the basic organizational structure, the type, amount, and frequency of training to be provided to the fire brigade, the expected number of members of the fire brigades, and the function that the fire brigade is to perform at the workplace. Now, what this is talking about is that as a company, you guys should also establish what they call the fire brigade. Now, this fire brigade, you have the sole responsibility of fighting fire should in case it occur in that company or wherever. So your organizational structure should make provision or for fire brigades, for fire brigade, and there should be an amount and an amount placed on that, or maybe finance put into that to create that department and payment of staff. And also these people that are to be the members of the brigade should also be trained occasionally, you understand. Then also expected number of fire brigade in your organizational structure or in your policy statement, state out the number of people that should be in that fire brigade, and then make them understand their role and function as well. That is to say, create a role and function for them. So the firefighting equipment. Maintain and inspect at least annually firefighting equipment to ensure the safe operational condition of the equipment. Understand all this, all your fighting equipment. If you are using your vehicle, that firefighting truck, it should be properly maintained. Your fire extinguishers, everything, your wares, firefighting wares, they should be properly maintained. So, a portable fire extinguisher and respirators inspected at least monthly. So they should always be inspected. The essence of this is that, let's take for instance, you do not pay attention to this, maybe due to the fact that you've not had any case of fire incident for a very long time. And for that reasons, you neglect the maintenance of your firefighting materials. Then all of a sudden, one day fire breaks out. You rush down to your materials and you find out that they are faulty. At that point, you cannot use them to fight that fire again. And by the time you start running out to try and source for new stuff to fight that fire may have caused a lot of damage. So regardless of how long a fire incident has occurred in your company, always ensure to maintain your firefighting equipment. So that's what this place is talking about. Say assure that protective clothing protects the head, the body, and the extremities. The extremities talking about the hands and the legs, and consists of at least the following components. There should be a good foot and leg protection for your fire brigadiers. Then also a hand protection, body protection, eye, face, and head protection. All these things should be provided for those members of the fire brigade. So, having said all that, now we'll be moving into another segment of talking about theory of combustion. And this is what they refer to as the fire triangle. You have fuel, you have heat, and you have oxygen. Now, for any fire to occur, these three things must be present. The fuel talking about anything that can cause fire. Your paper can be your fuel, rubber, clothes, anything that can cause fire, that can actually be ignited into causing fire is regarded as fuel. Understand? Then also for that fuel to lead to fire, to bring up fire, it needs an amount of heat. It requires heat. If you have just your paper without any application of heat, there's no way that paper will catch fire. You understand? There must be heat application. So for you to have a fire, there must be a fuel and there must be what? Heat. And also there must be oxygen. The essence of the oxygen is to sustain the fire. Oxygen serves as a sustaining substance for the fire. You understand? So if you have your fuel, your heat, and there's no oxygen, there's no way that fire will come up. You understand? So these three things are what makes up fire: your fuel, your heat, and your oxygen. Now, if you remove any of these three things, there you have automatically what put off that fire. If you remove the fuel, it means if there's no your wood is not available or your paper, it means that there will be no fire. If your heat, if you do not apply heat to that paper, it will not lead to fire. And if there is no oxygen to sustain the burning, there will be no fire. So once you remove any of these things, it means you have what? Eliminated that fire. Now say types of fire. You have the class A type of fire. Now this type of fire involves ordinary combustible materials such as your wood, your cloth, your paper, rubber, and many plastics. Understand? So these are what are regarded as a class A type of fire. Now this class A type of fire, basically you can use water to put them off, in a sense. Now what you should know about this class A type of fire is that there is what we refer to as ignition temperature. Now for instance, if you have a paper, you understand, and a wood, if you place a lighter under the wood and you place a lighter under that paper, you will notice that the paper will catch fire first before the wood. You understand? That means that the paper has a higher ignition temperature. It is more prone to catching fire than the wood. Now the wood has a lower ignition temperature. Now for any fire to occur, the heat applied must get to the ignition temperature before that fire can emerge. You understand? So what basically is that the material, the wood, once they get the ignition temperature, they catch fire. Now, in this class A type of fire, we say we can use water to put them off. Now, what the water is, you remember we also said if you are to put off a fire, if you eliminate any of those three substances, either the heat, the fuel, or the oxygen, that fire goes off. Now, in this case of class A type of fire, what the water does in putting it off is that it reduces the ignition temperature of the substance. You understand? Just like if you have a wood, you soak one of the wood in water, and while the other one is a dry wood. If you should apply fire, that is heat, to both of those wood, you will find out that the dry wood will first of all catch fire before the wet wood. Why? Because with that water in that wood, the water has reduced the ignition temperature of that wood. That is why it will not catch fire easily compared to the other one. So water is used to cool the burning material below its ignition temperature. So that's what the ignition temperature is talking about. You use water to put off the water you put on the fire reduces the ignition temperature of the fuel of that fire, thereby putting off the fire. Now, when the fire is put off, it leaves a residual in form of ash. So that's all about the class A type of fire. Then you have the class B type of fire. So this involve flammable and combustible liquids and gases such as gas, oil, mineral spirits, alcohol, grease, hydraulic fluid. Now, in putting off this class B type of fire, one of the things you can use is you either use smothering or blanketing effect of oxygen is the most effective method of extinguishing this fire. Now, what they are trying to talk about is that when this kind of fire is on, to put it off, you try to eliminate oxygen. Now, by eliminating oxygen, you use the smothering or blanketing effect. And this blanketing, if you're talking about, take for instance, when you soak your blanket on water. Let's say, for instance, you are cooking in the kitchen and you know due to overheating, your oil can become flammable. You understand? Now, if there is flame in such cases, if you soak your blanket on water and then put it over that oil, it puts off the fire. Now, the mechanism it uses in putting off that fire is that because it is wet, the it becomes that material becomes thick and impenetrable to air. You understand? So once you put it on top of that fire, now oxygen can no longer get to the fire, and by so doing, that fire will automatically die off. So in putting out this class B type of fire, the most uh, effective way is to what? Eliminate oxygen using this smothering or blanketing method. Now you also have the class C type of fire. And the class C type of fire is talking about energized electrical equipment, such as your household appliances, transformer, generators. It is talking about electrical fire, fires that come as a result of electrical energy. Now, this fire can sometimes be controlled by a non-conducting extinguishing agent such as halon, dry chemical, carbon dioxide. Understand? Now, like we also said, in eliminating the fire, you try to eliminate either of those three substances that can cause fire. Now, in this case of the class C fire, which is the electrical fire, what you also do is that you try to eliminate oxygen by using dry fire extinguishers. If you take note of your fire extinguishers, you see there are different types of fire extinguishers. There are some that are carbon dioxide. Now, if you spray this fire extinguisher, you will notice that what comes out of it is like a dry powder, a dry particle powder. Now, if you should spray this dry particle powder on these electrical appliances, it will coat the surface of the electrical appliance that is causing the fire. Once it is totally coated, it means oxygen can no longer penetrate it, and by so doing, the fire will also automatically die off. So, in putting out acid type of fire, you use dry chemicals such as halon, uh, uh, carbon dioxide, and all that. Now, one thing you should note in this classic type of fire is that you should never use water as an extinguishing agent. A lot of persons make this mistake, maybe due to panic and all that. You know the chaos that comes with fire. So some persons their first thought is to try and get water. That is very very dangerous because water is a conductor and it can be very very hazardous. So one of the you also see some persons when this kind of fire comes up, this electrical fire comes up, they try to use sand. Some of them will pack sand and try to use that as also a way that you can put it off. Now, what the sand does is that it coats the surface of the burning appliances and eliminates oxygen. You understand? Now, the next one is the Class D type of fire. The Class D type of fire involves combustible metal such as magnesium, titanium, aluminum. Now, in putting of the special dry powder extinguishing agents are required and must be tailored to the specific metal. Shooting a stream of water onto Class D fire may result in an explosion. Now, in this Class D type of fire, talking about metals, one thing that is of note here is that each of these metals have their extinguishing agents. You understand? If the fire was caused by a magnesium source, magnesium as a fuel, if you want to put out such fire, there is a tailor-made extinguisher for magnesium. If you should use the wrong kind of extinguisher for this kind of fire, it may lead to an explosion. So there are dry powder extinguishing agents that are tailored made for each of these metal. Magnesium fire caused by magnesium has their own types of extinguishers. Fire caused by titanium has their own types of extinguishers. Aluminium as well. You understand? So once any of these matters result in a fire outbreak, try to look for a tailored made extinguisher for each of those. So it's very important. Using the wrong extinguisher can be catastrophic. Like they said, yeah, if you should pour water or maybe any form of stream of water comes in contact with any of those kind of fire, it lead to a serious explosion. A magnesium is burning and you decide to use water to put it off, you are causing more problem because an explosion will occur. So class D type of fire are metal fires and can be put off by specialized extinguishing agents. Then you have the class K type of fire. Involves cooking oil or fats, butter hot, burn hotter than typical combustible liquid, rendering a standard class B extinguisher ineffective. Extinguished by a wet chemical extinguisher and converts the burning substance to a non-combustible soup. And this is talking about oil, burning oil and fat like your butter and all those things. Now, this kind of oil can be burned hotter than normal fire. So, if this kind of oil is burning and you use water, it is very, very dangerous. Just like in your kitchen, if your oil is burning and you try to use water to put it off, it becomes the thing explodes and lead to even more fire. So this kind of fire, you don't use your normal liquid substances to try and put them off. Rather, you use a wet chemical extinguisher that converts the non-combustible into soup. You understand? So that's it. This is, for instance, when you see this kind of fire, you can simply take soup, take a water full of soup, and try to use it to put it off. So that's for the class K type of fire. The types of extinguishers. There are different types of extinguishers and they are designed for different classes of fire. The most common type of extinguisher are you have the water extinguisher, the carbon dioxide extinguisher, and dry chemical extinguisher. Dry chemical fire extinguisher. Say dry chemical extinguisher put out the fires by coating the fuel with a thin layer of dust, separating the fuel from the oxygen in the air. Same thing that I've explained to you before. So the power also works to interrupt the chemical reaction of fire, making them very effective at putting off the fire. You understand? So dry chemical fire extinguisher. Say ABC extinguisher are red and range in size from 5 to 20. Whose ABC fire extinguisher are filled with fine yellow powder composed of ammonium phosphate and ammonium sulfate. The extinguishers are pressurized with nitrogen and all that. So this is just trying to describe what the dry chemical extinguisher look like. Now, firefighting said using a fire extinguisher. Now, this is to teach you how to use a fire extinguisher. If you can simply remember the acronym PASS and understand it, you could be able to use your fire extinguisher anytime. Now, the acronym PASS, the P simply stands for pull. Now, at the head of the extinguisher, at the nozzle of the extinguisher, you see that there is a pin that is used to kind of lock the extinguisher. Now, if you are to make use of it, the first thing you should do is to pull that pin. So the P in the power simply stands for pull. So you pull the pin to open the extinguisher to free the nozzle that you can press. Then the A stands for aim. Now, in using the extinguisher, you don't spray the extinguisher on the fire. You understand? For instance, you are trying to use a dry chemical extinguisher. It is very important that you aim because what you are trying to do, the aim of that using the extinguisher is to eliminate the fuel. You understand? So you must aim at the base. Use your extinguisher to aim at the base of the fire so that you can properly coat the fuel, thereby removing oxygen and putting off that fire. So once you are open your extinguisher, you pull the pin. The next thing is for you to aim at the base of the fire. You understand? And one thing you should know is that this fire extinguisher, usually don't contain much. So if you end up spraying it recklessly, you will find out that at the end you will not be able to put off the fire. So ensure to always aim at the base. So the A stands for aim, which means you should aim at the base. Now once you aim at the base, the next thing for you to do is to squeeze the nozzle, which is the nozzle or the handle of the extinguisher, which is what the S stands for. The S in the past stands for squeeze, and you squeeze the nozzle till you are able to put off the fire. Now the other S stands for sweep. Now once when you are putting off the fire, you sweep from side to side. You understand, so that you can be able to cover everywhere and ensure that that fire is put off. Most importantly, you stay calm. Don't panic. Like I told you, the content of that fire extinguisher is very small. In less than 10 seconds, in some cases, it is the fire extinguisher is exhausted. So if you are not calm, you may end up not using it effectively. But if you are calm, you can be able to aim at the base properly and follow every other procedure. Now this is just trying to elaborate on what we just said. You pull the pin. This allows you to discharge the extinguisher. Then aim at the base of the fire, not the flame. To put out the fire, you must extinguish the fuel. Then squeeze the handle slowly. This releases the extinguishing agent. Releasing the hand to stop the discharge. Sweep from side to side. Begin operating the extinguisher from a safe distance, then move towards the fire as it starts to diminish. Once the fire is out, watch out for reflash. Always back away from the fire. What he's trying to say is, initially the fire will be very big, so you have to start from a safe distance. As the extinguisher takes effect and reduces the fire, you go closer to eventually put it off. And now in most cases, or when some objects are burning, there is tendency for a reflash. You understand? So once you put out the fire, try and stay back, stay away, and watch out if there will be any reflash. Fundamental rules: do not endanger yourself or others when attempting to put out a fire. Lives beat property every time. Never trade a life for property. Know where your teammate is. Know and discuss emergency procedures during tailgate meetings. In the event of turbine fire, do not be a hero. Just get out. If the fire is too big for you to handle, do not hesitate. Run. It's advisable for you to run. If you can fly, you fly. Always position yourself with an exit or means of escape at the back before you attempt to use the extinguisher to put out a fire. Should in case there is a reflash beyond your ability to handle, you use your exit and make way. Final thoughts. Fire prevention should be included in your everyday life. Take fire prevention home with you. Do you have a fire extinguisher at home? These are some of the things you should consider. Fire prevention should be your everyday life in your home, in your little office, in your workplace. You should always be prepared for any eventuality of fire. In your home, you should have a fire extinguisher all the time. Understand? And all that. You can equally have a smoke alarm once there is an excess smoke that can help notify you of any fire eventuality. So these are some of the things you should consider as well. So we end here for today. Thank you for your time and stay safe.